Welcome to Age of Aquarius, Soul Activation Temple. Yeah, through soul activations, guided meditations, and crystalline codes, we return to who we truly are, which is light in form. You are here because your soul is ready. So welcome home. Time is not linear. So if this message resonates with you, it is most certainly meant for you. Beloved souls, today, the 28th of February, we witness what we call a planetary parade, a realignment where multiple planetary bodies appear to gather along the same arc of sky. But let's be clear here, the planets are not controlling us, they are mirrors. And when multiple archetypal forces appear to stand in one line, then it speaks symbolically of coherence, of convergence, of timelines collapsing into a single point of decision. Each planet carries an archetypal frequency. Saturn represents structure, karmic law, consequence, and mastery through endurance. Neptune dissolves illusions, softens boundaries, and reveals spiritual truth through surrender. Mars ignites will, action, and personal sovereignty. Venus calibrates value, meaning what we love, what we tolerate, and what we are no longer available for. When these archetypal energies stand in proximity, it can feel like the sealing of an old chapter. However, it is not dramatic, not chaotic, but final, like wax pressed onto an envelope, like ash after fire. And this is important because ash is not destruction. Ash is evidence that transformation has already occurred. The fire has passed. The lesson has been burned through the illusion. The karmic pattern has exhausted its fuel. You cannot return to a house that no longer stands. You cannot wear skin that has already been shed. We have passed through the very transformative and leaving behind the energy of the year of the snake. And as we do so, we are to remember that the snake does not argue with its own skin. It outgrows it quietly, strategically, without announcement. And so, what many are feeling right now is not the chaos of burning, it is the stillness thereafter. The moment where the timeline seals, where an old version of self quietly closes, where contracts, spoken and unspoken, dissolve, and where wisdom is found in the whole because we are never separate from the creative consciousness. There is something deeply spiritual and Piscean about this threshold. It represents the end of the zodiacal wheel. It represents the final house of surrender, as well as the ocean before rebirth. This alignment is less about explosion and more about completion. It is less about battle and more about sovereignty. If you have been through intense lessons, if you have walked through psychological warfare, manipulation, spiritual testing, or karmic confrontation, you may feel today not as drama, but as confirmation, a quiet knowing that it is done, the ash has fallen, and the field has cleared. The firewall has been built through lived experience. What burned cannot burn you again in the same way. That is mastery. Now here is the ignition point. Because closure is not the end, remember, it is in fact the threshold. And when multiple planetary archetypes align, it symbolizes integration, structure, dissolution, action, value, all standing in coherence. And when the sky reflects coherence, it invites us to embody coherence, to align thought, emotion, and action, to rise not reactively, but to respond deliberately, not from trauma, but from wisdom. This is the rising from the ashes moment, but not from the dramatic phoenix myth. This rising is steady, it is grounded, unshakable. It is the embodiment of someone who has nothing left to prove, no war left to fight, no old script left to repeat. Collectively, this matters because when one person seals a karmic timeline, it reduces the density in the collective field. When one nervous system regulates after prolonged stress, it stabilizes the grid. When one soul chooses sovereignty over survival patterns, the ripple effect moves outward. We do not always see the long arc and effects of our transformation, but it is always moving. So if you feel quiet, clear, slightly disoriented, but peaceful, reflective rather than reactive, you are not regressing. You are, in fact, integrating. Let this day be ceremonial, not dramatic. You do not need to manifest anything. You do not need to fight anything. You do not need to prove anything. Simply acknowledge that the old timeline is sealed. The lesson is complete. The ash has fertilized new ground. And what rises now is not who you were, but who you have become. So pause, take a breath, feel your spine, feel your center. Feel the solidity of someone who has already walked through fire. For the planetary parade is not commanding you, it is witnessing you, and you are ready. If this resonated, share it with someone who may be feeling the same quiet shift. For we rise together, not through chaos, but through coherence. And so, as a ceremonial closing, within the age of Aquarius, awakening is not chaos. It is the return of authority to the inner throne. Today, as the old timeline seals and the ash settles into fertile ground, we do not rush forward. We stand aligned, regulated, clear. We do not rise from the ashes in spectacle. We rise in sovereignty. The lessons have been integrated. The fire has refined us. The nervous system has learned what true safety feels like within. And from this place, we build, not fear, not from reaction, not from old karmic entanglement, but from embodied wisdom. This is the soul activation temple. Here we do not bypass the shadow, we transmute it. Here we do not wait for the heavens to move, we move in harmony with them. So take a breath now and place your awareness in your heart. Feel the steadiness in your spine. Feel the clarity in your field. The old chapter is sealed. The new embodiment has begun. And as we walk this Aquarian path together, may our coherence ripple outward, stabilizing, uplifting, and awakening. Not through force, but through presence. So it is, and so we walk. This is Age of Aquarius Soul Activation Temple, where sovereignty is remembered, where coherence becomes power, where awakened souls walk in embodied truth. Stand anchored, stay regulated, move in alignment. And remember, the light you seek is the light you stabilize. Until our next activation, walk steady and rise in sovereignty.